I would say I was female straight away, but I'm not all there physically in terms of that. So I am full female transgender.
I use female pronouns to describe myself in everyday conversation.
At the time, it was a bit too much for me to deal with, so I just shoved it to the back of my head and got on with my life.
There was a group of trans gay. This was basically a little safe haven for me to be myself.
The reason why I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin and in my identity was that I was a guy.
I feel that transgender often gets excluded from being a sexuality or a real thing.
Cisgendered, in my understanding, means that your gender and your sex are the same. So the way that you're born, what is between your legs, is the same as what you see yourself and present yourself to the world.
You have to wake up really early to shave your beard, put 10 layers of foundation on, and make sure your earphones work so you don't have to listen to the reaction.
What does that mean for me to be transgender? I think for me, I'm transforming my gender basically. And I like to say that as much as sometimes I would just want to make it easy and say I'm female, but I like to say transgender because it's not a common name for some people, I would say for most. And when they ask, because I've said transgender an unfamiliar term, I get to educate. And so with most boys, I say I'm transgender, not this, I'm a boy that wants to be a girl. I literally give them the term so that if they do run away from me, it's okay as long as they know that what transgender is. So for me, it's a person that wants to transform their gender into the opposite, and just because that's how they feel inside and they want to look like that out and just be open. I think in society, it's totally going to be difficult for them to understand because we're so used to the normal, the black and white, the male and female, I think it's just taking them into this different world that's possible. Here's a possible gender, and here's living proof. Are you willing to take the time to accept and understand that this world is changing and evolving, and everyone is becoming happy living as they are and who they are?
Love has no gender. Again, it's going back to the whole internal feelings, not what's on the outside, but what's on the inside. Hearts, not parts, kind of thing.
I realised around 13, 14 that I was different than a lot of my peers. I was only ready to talk about it with other people at 15 though. When I was younger, I realised I could tell that something wasn't quite in sync with how everyone else was. I knew that I felt different than my friends, and my friends at the time were all teenage girls, and I didn't quite feel like them, and I could tell that. I think a lot of people in society, if you were to ask them what transgender means, they still have this image in their head, this caricature of a guy with facial hair and a dress. Personally, I have no problems with guys in facial hair wearing dresses, but that isn't what transgender people are. Most of us are just average people trying to live our lives.
I use female pronouns to describe myself in everyday conversation. The way that I came about that identity was a very long and tumultuous self-discovery process. It started off with a lot of confusion in my younger years, and the way that I reacted to that confusion was by doing what they call being hyper-masculine. That is looking toward masculine ideas and ideals, being strong, being emotionless, being callous, that sort of thing, and embodying those sorts of things, as well as taking on physical roles that are expected of males. Where I ended up taking that was into kind of like into a weightlifting area, and what they call bulking up. It was kind of to try and combat these feelings, these ideas that would go through my head that I felt feminine or I identified with women, and that was wrong. It wasn't allowed to be like that. It wasn't until I was 24 that I finally said to myself that I can't keep lying to myself like that. And it was really, truly lying to myself, because it was only making me feel worse. It was only making me feel more stifled, and it was putting me on a very unconstructive path in my life.
My family wasn't that involved with it. They weren't that involved because it was just something that we didn't particularly talk about. I was pretty sure I came out to my mother when I was 15, and I asked her to shave my hair off for me, but somehow she forgot about that. I don't know how you can forget about your child coming out to you, but she did. When the subject got broached again when I was 18, her reaction was, well, you shouldn't be worried about relationships, you should be concentrating about your study. That year for Christmas, I got a book of lesbian short stories from her and a book on lesbian poetry from my older sister. And that was pretty much it. There was never any conversation about it. I didn't really come out to my father at all. I thought he'd pick up the clues about the way I presented myself, my queer pride t-shirts. If he noticed, he never said a thing. When I came out with my gender identity, though, when I told them I was transitioning, that was a lot different. I wanted to come out to them before I'd done many things, before I'd changed my name officially, before I started medical treatment, because I thought it was fair to let them know what was going on. While they haven't been the best, it hasn't been bad. Neither of them have disowned me, they still love me as their child. My father has begun addressing me with my new name. I think it helped that my son would keep correcting him whenever he didn't. My mother, on the other hand, it's not the best. She's having a hard time dealing with it. She has still expressed the fact that she loves me as a child. It doesn't make me feel better when she uses the wrong name for me, when she tells me how disappointed she is, how hurt she is. But it could be worse.
I think transphobia can look like lots of things as well. There's definitely more overt transphobia, and we're a lot less likely to be called out than homophobia, where a teacher might, tell someone off for telling a joke with a punchline with someone who was gay. I'd say it's less likely that there would be the same reaction to one where the punchline was someone who was trans. And that's sad. That's sad when we look at the statistics around trans young people, how much pain and marginalization there is there.
There is a typical body that a child can expect growing up for their gender or their sex. But if it doesn't go that way, it's okay. If it doesn't end up being a certain way that was expected, it's okay, and there are ways to help you feel like you can fit with the rest of your peers. There are things that can help. There is also a lot of strength in accepting that your body is different and that's normal. Being intersex is not any sort of curse or a disease. It's just normal part of genetics, and how that comes out is an expression of you in the same way that you express yourself emotionally or verbally.
Doesn't it come back to that nuclear family ideal? For years and historically, like, there have been queer and trans individuals around for decades, for centuries. It's if you look hard enough, well, not even hard enough, you can see it, it's all there. People are people and they love who they love and identify how they identify. But at some point, it's like there's been a command almost that you need, or you are only normal, don't like that word, but you're only normal if you are a cisgendered female with a cisgendered male.
If there wasn't such a stigma or this huge amount of marginalisation around trans identities and experiences, then people would feel a lot more comfortable exploring them. Everything that I've been through has made me a much stronger and better person, and a lot more empathetic. But I feel sad for me of the past that for so many years I hated myself so much. And I didn't know what was wrong. And I tried so many things to kind of try and lessen that or improve that in any way. But, I was looking in the wrong place.